Well, good morning, everyone. What a joy it is to have you here with us on this Easter morning. My name is Jack, and this is David, and we're really excited, not just to have you here, but to be going through this Bible story with you here today. Now, I think this is probably one of my favourite passages from the Bible. And why is that? And I think there's two reasons. And number one is just to think how amazing that must have been for Mary on that morning to be the first one to encounter the risen Christ. But there's also a second reason too. And I think it's this story can teach us lots of key lessons about what it means to follow Jesus here today, all these years later. So when David and I sat down and had a look at this story, we thought there were three key lessons we could really take away from this story. And all of these lessons we're going to represent with objects. So I'm going to show you the first object, which is symbolic of our story. So the first object is this. It's a backpack. So you might be sat there thinking, what on earth does a backpack have to do with what we've just heard? The story of Mary meeting Jesus. Well, this backpack is an image of the things we can carry around with us in our own lives. So if I just open up this backpack here, David, do you want to just take out some of the things we have in here?
Yes.
So what do we have? What's the first thing?
We've got questions.
So questions we might be carrying around with us. Anything else? What else have we got here?
We've got sadness.
Sadness. And the last one, what is this?
We've got worries.
Worries. Okay, so I don't know about you, but these are things we may be able to relate to at any stage of our lives that we have maybe been carrying around with us. And it sounds like quite a burden. So I guess my question is, what are we carrying at the moment?
That's a key question, Jack, because after all, we're all carrying things. And things that maybe other people can't always see. Because around 2,000 years ago, a woman called Mary Magdalene woke up early in the morning and went to see a tomb. And I want us to just take a moment to try and imagine what that morning was like. If it helps, you might want to close your eyes and picture yourself in the scene. Early in the morning, maybe it's cold, it's getting bright, the dawn is rising. And if it's anything like it was at 6 o'clock this morning, then birds were making a wonderful noise. There were geese and ducks and crows and songbirds all singing their hearts out. So Mary is walking along slowly, and she's carrying lots of things in her heart. Things like these, certainly sadness and worries and lots of questions.
Yeah, and I think it's something really important that we try and do, because when we read the Gospels, it can almost seem like sometimes it's a first century version of an action movie, you know. You go from one place to another, a miracle there, and something else. But really to put ourselves in Mary Magdalene's shoes, as David is doing. She's about to visit the burial place of someone who meant a lot to her, a man who had been cruelly executed just a couple of days before. So, you know, maybe her eyes would have been filled with tears. Her thoughts were probably, you know, all over the place. She was probably feeling grief, loss, confusion, because to her, the man she was mourning was truly an extraordinary man. This was a man who was, you know, healing the sick, feeding the hungry, and walking with the lonely. The kind of man, you know, who could bring hope into the most hopeless of situations. But suddenly, he was gone, and it seemed like this situation that Mary now found herself in had become too hopeless, even for the Jesus she knew, to solve. It probably felt like it was all over. But then, things became even more confusing.
Maybe it's because when she first arrived there, Her eyes were so full of tears she could scarcely focus and see what she saw before her. But then it all becomes startlingly clear, and she sees that the stone has been rolled away, and my goodness me, the tomb is empty. And as we see in John's Gospel account, more questions arrive. It's not just what has happened, but where is he? And we come back to our original question: what are we carrying today? Because we don't have to look very far to see a world that feels confusing, a world that feels painful, full of war and injustice and suffering. And sometimes, even if we believe in God, we still find ourselves asking, where is he? And here is the good news. We're right there at the very epicenter of the good news story that we've heard and are celebrating today. Jesus was raised from the dead, victorious over sin and death. And the first person he appeared to was Mary. And remember this, Mary didn't have all the answers. Even when Mary was carrying grief, loss, and confusion, God was there. Hello?
Hi David, how are you doing?
Oh, hi Jack.
Have you got some time to talk?
Sorry, I'm a bit busy. I'm in the middle of a sermon at the moment.
Okay, speak later. So, why have I just called David? Well, it wasn't just as a prank. It was because we're moving on now to the second really powerful part of this story. So we had the backpack about what Mary's carrying, and now we're coming on to the fact that Mary was called by God. So that's the second of our three key themes, calling. And there's something really interesting about this particular calling we can see. And in John's Gospel, what is one of the first things that Jesus says to Mary? And I don't know if you can remember or not, but it's really interesting. It's not an explanation, as you might expect, or some kind of big announcement of exactly what has just happened. But he simply just says her name, Mary.
And in that moment, everything changes, because she recognizes him. She hears her name spoken by the one who knows her. And this shows us something really important about this world-changing event. Yes, it is a big moment in faith and life and history, but it's also deeply personal. It's something that relates just to her.
Yes, and because the same Jesus who spoke Mary's name also knows every single one of us, not just here today as part of a crowd, as faces in the room, but he knows us too by name, just like Mary. So we can just imagine that for a moment. Jesus speaking our own names.
And this challenges many people about the way that they think about God, because sometimes people imagine God as a rather remote and distant figure, not really involved in our day-to-day lives. But this story shows the complete opposite. Here is God who meets Mary in her grief, in her confusion, and in her pain. And when Jesus calls her by name, something else is happening. He is restoring her. But she came to the tomb that morning defined by loss. But this moment becomes a turning point from grief to purpose.
And it brings us to our third object, which sums up the story. So far, we've had the backpack about the things we're carrying. We've had the phone about the calling from God that Mary received and we all can receive. Now the third item we have is here. And I'm wondering if anyone can tell me what this is. Do we know? Anyone know? Hands up, anyone know what this is? So what's that? Yes, it's a relay baton. So why might we have here a relay baton. Does anyone actually want to see if they can come up with a good answer why we've got a baton here?
Well done, Wendy.
Very good answers over here from this section, because what does Jesus do next in this story after calling Mary by name? He sends her on a mission, and this mission is to pass on the good news of the resurrection to the disciples. It's almost as if he gives her this baton, which she in turn gives to them, and they in turn tell the world the good news, the good story of Easter. And we're all sitting here today with this baton, able to go and share this Easter story too. So that's what Easter's all about, not just a moment to hold on to, but a message to see, hear, and share with others.
And just imagine that for a moment. Imagine you were in the position of Mary. Just how would you feel? Would you just go for it, hell for leather, so run as fast as you possibly could? Or would you be feeling nervous, thinking, people won't believe this amazing story that I'm going to share with them? But she goes, she runs, she completes her mission, and that is really important.
Yeah, it's really important that Easter is not just something that we keep to ourselves. It's something that can move outward, a joy that we can share with others. And I think here it's really important we remember one thing. It's about who Jesus chooses for this mission. Because Mary's not really an obvious choice. You see, in the world she lived in, she wasn't very powerful, she wasn't very influential, but she had met and she did know Jesus. And that was more than enough for her to do this mission. And that is how God still works today. And I think we can sum up this story just by saying Jesus is meeting people personally, calling them by name, and then sending them into the world, just like he did to Mary on that day, thousands of years ago.
So, remember, 3 little words which encompass so much: carrying, called, and sent. Mary came to the tomb carrying grief and confusion. She was called by name, and everything changed. She no longer left carrying grief. She was sent on a mission, a message of hope for all people, that Jesus Christ had conquered death. And we too come with things that we are carrying, but still God calls us personally by name. He still meets us personally, and he still transforms us so that we can be sent to share his good news. And so as we leave today, we do not leave empty-handed. We go like Mary, carrying hope into the world, the news that Christ was risen and Christ is risen. Happy Easter, everyone.
I want to say thank you to all of you for being here. It's wonderful to have a church full of adults, but also lots of children. And you'll know, most of you, that Jack is our family and children minister. He's doing lots of work around church and around the village. And 2 weeks' time is Bubble Church. So the 19th of April at 3 o'clock, there'll be Bubble Church, puppets, crafts, activities for children and for families to come together. Every Monday, except tomorrow because it's Bank Holiday Monday, there's Sparklers, and I know that some of you have been to that. Sparklers happens between 10 and 11:30 on a Monday morning as a toddler group. Thank you. It's been a long morning. So this is the first Sunday of the month. So we usually have what we're calling Connect, Create and Celebrate, a service for all ages to come together. It's usually Jack and David that are doing that. The next one is on the 3rd of May. so the first Sunday of May. That service will be happening. Thank you to everybody who's worked hard during the week to make all our services happen. That's particularly our musicians, who've also been here, most of them since 6 o'clock, and to the people who've decorated church. People have worked hard over the last day or so to do that. So there's not sparklers tomorrow because it's bank holiday, but on Thursday at 10 o'clock, we've got our midweek communion service. That happens each week, and it's a chance for those who might not get to other services to come. This week it's going to be Roger Hale who's going to be taking that service. Now I know some of you know this news already, but others won't. That Tony Plale, who has been part of the church community for a lot of years, sadly died yesterday morning. He'd had a fall a couple of weeks ago, had been in hospital, gone home, and back in with sepsis. So we pray for his family, for Linda, and for Tony's children and grandchildren. Tony had, amongst other things, been part of doing junior church here. But when I first came to Wendover, he was chair of Wendover Youth Centre and was very instrumental in the work that happened between church and the youth centre. So he leaves quite a legacy to that. So please be holding that family in your prayers. There will be coffee afterwards. I think we've got a table over there. If you want to come into this space, or if it's warm enough, take it outside as well.
The night is gone, the tears are dry. The linen folded stone is rolled away. A whisper in the garden. I hear my name in the morning light. A quiet joy, a burning hope inside, shaped by resurrection light.